All right. If you're tuning in, this is Josh Anderson Art for Inktober Day 15. The word is Outpost. Now, what you should know is I find it very hard to talk and draw at the same time. And so I'd rather not talk. I know that makes kind of maybe a boring live stream, but maybe it's fun for you to watch. And I'd like to listen to music too, and I would love to be able to just have the music playing in the background as I draw. But the problem with that is it's always like copyrighted music. And so then I put headphones on, so it's not picked up on the live stream. So sorry, it's going to be kind of boring audio-wise, but hopefully it's still fun to watch. And go ahead and ask questions in the chat if you have any, and I'll see if I can answer. So I'm sitting here trying to do stars, and there's only one way I know that's a good way to do stars in the sky that look kind of realistic, and you have to have rubber cement, and you spray it on there before you put on the wash for the background. And then when you're all done painting in the dark, then you just peel off all the little bits of rubber cement, and you have a really nice starry sky. The problem is I don't have any rubber cement on hand. And I could do like the typically do in a doodle where you just put dots for stars, but then it's opposite. So the black dots are your stars. So now the other ways to do this painstaking, like actually kind of draw in all the stars, and it never looks very good. It doesn't look as real as the other ways, but for the effect I want right now, because I really want that vast, dark, spacey background to really show that this is the moon. And so this is the only way I can think of to do it right now. It's very painstaking, and it's very hard to make them look like stars and not to either make them look like squares or to make them look like snowballs or something. So I don't know. It's just going to have to be the way it is for this drawing. It just takes a long time. Sitting here thinking as I was doing this, like, thinking about space is crazy, like, because it's so vast and nobody can really comprehend how big space is. And just like as I draw these, I was looking at them and thinking, like, I'm trying to make lots of black background, but also billions of stars kind of sort of represented or whatever. And it's like, there's so many stars, like, why don't they just fill the sky with light? Well, the answer is because space is so much bigger than even all those billions and trillions of stars. It's just kind of trippy to think about just how vast space is, and also that our human eye is so small and used to looking at stuff, on our planet. Like, we still look into the night sky and can kind of see the vastness of space. Like, it's like sort of your vision cones out from the center of your eye and goes outward into space. And what you're actually seeing with your eye, like, who knows how many light years, because you can actually, like, when you see the Milky Way and stuff, like, you can kind of hardly, you can see the whole thing, like, you can see all the way across it. I forget, like, the facts and just how big the Milky Way is, but we all know that it's incredibly huge. I just think that you could see that. It's just amazing to me. You can see that huge distance, and it's like so kind of mind-boggling. You don't even really know what you're looking at, especially when there's no scale, like nothing to show scale. Like, I'm kind of thinking that too, and I looked at moon pictures to draw, because really, when you do the illustrations and cartoons and stuff, you really want to do kind of like cliche representations, like these craters. That's also kind of what everyone pictures on the moon, but what you don't realize is the craters are never this small in relation to my little building here, and say like a person would be about that tall. Because if you look at moon pictures where they were actually on the moon, and so you see the actual human size to surface size ratio, you don't even see craters at their size. You actually see mountains and stuff in the background. And so if I were to draw that realistically, like, it would be a lot harder to sell that I'm drawing the moon. Like, you just might think it's a black and white landscape, because it doesn't have those characteristic moon things about it. But those craters on the moon that we see are actually, like, enormous. Like, I forget, like, it seems like I've heard a fact somewhere about how just how big they actually are. Like they take up miles and miles, like they're like the size of states or even bigger. But of course, with cartoons and everything, they've led us to believe that they're about the size of a swimming pool or something. It's just crazy the kinds of misinformation that we get. Not really, it's nobody's trying to lie. It's just misunderstandings and things that we've grown to accept over time. My wife and I have been watching the show Brain Games lately, and it just talks about a lot of these things, misconceptions and illusions and things. And they talked about that thing that we think we all know, that like a lie repeated often enough becomes accepted as truth, which is kind of scary. Like, so really, you should evaluate everything you believe in against truth. And they talk about superstitions too, and how people just believe things because mainly because of coincidences. Believing you have a set of lucky keys or a lucky T-shirt or something like that, just because it's like the shirt you happen to be wearing, your team won the Super Bowl or whatever. It's kind of funny how many people believe superstitions, even though they'd probably tell you they don't. It's like, well, did you avoid walking under a ladder, or did you have a lucky shirt or something like that? And I think, oh, well, yeah. It's like I think superstitions are kind of dangerous things to hold on to because they mix up truth. Like, right? We're always like, we want to know and believe truth, right? Like, we all want to search for truth, and we believe silly stuff, it messes with truth. And like, because I'm a Christian and I believe in God, and I know a lot of people equate that with superstition, and that's why I think superstition is dangerous, because it mixes up the truth of like a spiritual realm with a silly, untruthful realm of belief people hold on to. And people hold on to superstitions because it makes them feel better. And so skeptics and people who try to debunk Christianity or belief in God would like compare that to how people are with superstitions. Yeah, of course you believe there's a God because our human minds have had to explain away blah 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 blah. Yeah, speaking of space and God and stuff, I just think it's incredible, like what God's created out there. And it's kind of like, why did he even make it like that? Like, why is it so vast, like so much bigger than our planet? And I know a lot of people even use that as a means to not believe in God. Like Carl Sagan always looked at there's a famous picture of the universe which shows how just teeny Earth is. It's just a little tiny speck out there, and like he says, I think it's his called it pale blue dot talk or whatever. And he just says, see, like that's how teeny we are, and he uses size to show just basically how irrelevant everything is, like how we're just nothing. But my question would be for him if he were still alive, like why does size have anything to do with our importance in the universe? Like, if we happen to draw our boundaries of existence right around the outside of Earth, which would make us essentially filling all of existence, does that make us any more important? It's like, and people try to look, I know Carl Sagan founded SETI, I believe, and they're searching for extraterrestrial life and all this stuff, and they think there's got to be something out there, and like a lot of people think it would have implications on faith and what you believe about God. And you want to know my honest opinion is, I don't think they're going to find anything out there. I think we would have found it by now. And I just think, in the scheme of things, like when I read the Bible and understand God's plan for this whole thing, it doesn't need anymore. Like it doesn't. It could, and and I think if we found it, life or whatever out there, it would just be like, well, it's more creation. It's like finding more life in the oceans. Like, does that change anything about what we believe? No, it's just more of God's creation out there. I guess like what it is though is if it's intelligent life and sentient life, that has some implications as to, if Christ died for the whole world, like what about the aliens? Did he die for them too? So I don't know. I would have to revisit everything I know if they did find life and what that meant, but I just don't think they are. It seems like to me they would have found it by now. And what's crazy to me though is too like their criteria that they have for finding life, like it would be in their estimation, if it were to be life, it would have A, B, and C. And so they send out I forgot what that thing was called. They sent out just to let it float out in space until something or somebody found it out there. And they tried to do like simple pictographs to try and communicate with them. It's just so silly to me. Like, one, if there is life, like I'm sure it's so vastly different from us that it's like trying to communicate with an ant, like I drew it stick figures. I didn't write it in English. Don't you understand, little ant? No. It just seems silly to me. Like it's just really wishful thinking. And it's like, okay, so most people who believe along the lines or follow Carl Sagan would also stand up for abortion, which it's like, come on. So you're like denying that that's life in the womb and it has everything it needs to be a human. And yet you're looking out in space for something to make some little random signal and then call that life. Come on. Did you see the inconsistency there? Yeah, and I think it's kind of like, so the vastness of space goes along with the beauty of creation and just everything. Like, I mean, it's just an extrapolation of here, or of what we find on Earth. Whenever we make discoveries, it's, you could ask the same question: why did God create other life, the animals and stuff, and why is the Earth so big in relation to us, and all of these questions? Like, I think God just really just had fun with it. I think God is a creative God, obviously. Like, he made everything. And I think he takes great joy in creating and then creating life, us, the human life, to enjoy that creation and to glorify him because of what we see in it. I mean, isn't it awesome? Like when you think about God creating all this stuff and just like every cool little animal, cool thing in nature. It's like God made that. And he's like infinitely powerful, obviously, but he also created us who are finite. So he created it on a level for us to be able to understand and enjoy it. It's already been 34 minutes. I'm gonna have to hurry this drawing up. their little chimney that goes out to their bubble so that they don't poison themselves inside there with their escaping gases from the fire. This little outpost house, that doesn't really make sense in real life. I mean, for goodness sakes, there's not even a door out of the portal. Whoops. No, it's on the other side. You can't see it. So I'm curious, if you're watching right now, are you the person who tunes in almost every day? Because you have one viewer right now, it's you, and it seems like most days I only have about one. It's okay. It's because I don't really advertise very well. It's okay. Really, the reason I do these drawings as live streams is really just to keep the video. Because I would just make a video and post it, but it takes up so much space, like hard drive space. If I do it this way, then YouTube stores it for me. Talk about vast sizes. I can't imagine the storage space that YouTube has to have somewhere. The last I read, this was years ago, was that YouTube gets 10 years of new footage uploaded every day. So if you ever thought you could go and watch everything on YouTube, it would get pretty lonely out there on the moon. Does that look like he's on the moon? Yeah. One of my biggest struggles as an artist is to try to see things from, like, stand back and see things as you, the viewer, would see it. I feel like I get so myopic and so close, nearsighted to whatever I'm drawing. It doesn't feel like it looks right. And most of the time when I stand back and look at it later, it's like, oh, that does look right. That's how I want it. Like some of the illusions that we do as artists, that try to give the look of depth and all that kind of stuff, like it doesn't translate in the moment. Like if I do like a background where you can see way off in the distance, like it looks very two-dimensional to me as I draw it, and it just doesn't feel like it's selling the effect. But a lot of times I go back later and it's fine. These shadows here, like it feels like I just made a mess out of my porch by putting those shadows there. But then when I step back and look at it, it's actually really cool because it really sells a shadow very well. Well, give me a thumbs up if you like the drawing. This is part of the reason I don't talk usually on my streams either, is because the live stream you're really talking to yourself until like unless somebody chats and then it's like they're typing and you're speaking to it, typed out messages. Kind of weird. All right. There's a lot more I could probably do to this drawing, but it's going to have to do for today because I'm out of time. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you like it. Go check out my Instagram to see the final. These. There we go. It's really hard to get straight under the camera. That way, that way, that way, that way. No, this way. Oh, that's a brain game right there. Okay. See you later.